Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Doomwell Crossing and returning again, Mr. Dakota Lasky. The whole band back together. It has been 5 days since the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, and I feel like each day has been action-packed with new news and new things happening. How we all feeling? How we doing?
I mean, in terms of the Switch 2, I'm feeling pretty good. In terms of the state of the economy, not so much. It's pretty dire out there. But yeah, regardless, we're definitely going to be talking about how that relates to the Switch 2. But even amongst, like, you know, all of the kind of drama that's unfolded there, I'm still incredibly hyped for this console. You got mad at one of my Blue Sky posts where I was saying that Mario Kart World was my most anticipated game of the year.
How dare you?
But it's true, man. This game looks freaking incredible.
I knew someone was going to say that when I saw that, because I was like, oh, Metroid's not at the top.
Yeah, it wasn't even number 2. It was number 3.
No, I was expecting Doom to be, like, the new Doom game to be your top game, actually.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, the new Doom looks, new Doom looks absolutely immaculate. I'm super hyped about that. But like, Mario Kart World, that game in particular, like, I was telling Andy during the direct, like, this is my Breath of the Wild right here. Unironically, like, I knew that this next Mario Kart was going to be ambitious. Like, you can't just go 10 years off Mario Kart 8 and just do, you know, Mario Kart 8 Part 2. And it just completely exceeded my expectations on every conceivable front. It just looks like, you know, literally like the best Mario Kart game ever. Obviously, I won't know for sure until I play it. We'll probably get a better idea of that during this direct. But like my God, like, this game absolutely floored me, and in a way that like a day one game preview really hasn't done since I think Doom Eternal, honestly.
Well, there you go. And luckily for us, we're going to be talking about Mario Kart World today. Dak, how you doing, man? How it feels like it's been a month since last we talked, and it was only like a week ago. I don't even remember now. But what's
not
going on?
Not even a week. Yeah, not much, man. Everything's been pretty good. You know, nothing's really changed on my end since the last time we chatted, but it's good to have some back-to-back shows. Obviously, we have a lot of good reason to be talking about some new stuff because I was fortunate enough to actually get some, you know, hands-on experience with some of the things that we just talked about. So I'm excited to be back on the show and to talk about it and obviously hang out with you guys. So yeah, everything's going pretty well. The weather is getting nice and then not nice over here in Jersey. It's either like a super beautiful day or it's raining and muggy and gross. But my allergies haven't been killing me, so that's been nice. I guess knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't start anytime soon. Yeah, everything's going pretty good over here, all things considered.
You know, it's funny you say that, actually, because my allergies were giving me some troubles earlier. I've actually got my window open, which I almost never do when we're recording. So if there's any weird sounds, very likely it's coming from me.
Okay.
But yeah, so Dak got hands-on with the
Yes.
Nintendo Switch 2 with a bunch of different games, and we're going to get into all that. I do think that as much as I'm like kind of over talking about it, I do think that we should touch on the aftermath of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, and specifically like the reaction to the price of the Switch 2, which from my vantage point, I don't know if I saw a lot of people take umbrage with. It was more expensive than I think maybe we thought, but that didn't seem to really get people riled up. We definitely should talk about the price of some of the games, specifically Mario Kart, because that is what people are really up in arms about. And of course, what happened, I don't even know, like yesterday or the day before or whatever, where the pre-orders weren't canceled, but they were delayed in the United States of America because of new tariffs put on by your glorious leader down there. So lots of stuff to get into here, and I want to preface, because I have some thoughts about this, but I'm going to preface, I'm going to leave most of like the kind of the talk of this to Doom and Dak, because I got to say my piece on the Zelda cast. We had almost an entire hour discussion about this. So yeah, like I'm tariffed out here. So I'll throw it over, I guess, to you guys, and maybe we'll start with really quickly, just to see if you agree with what I said at the beginning. Did you guys see a lot of people, I guess, like kind of reacting negatively to the price of Nintendo Switch 2, like the console itself?
Not a lot. I think you're pretty much right on the money. It's mainly the games in particular. I think it's Mario Kart World. That's the big one, just because it sets this new precedent of like, non-collector's edition, non-digital deluxe edition, just starting off $80 right at the top. It's an unheard precedent, at least in kind of the modern gaming era. Obviously, it was a little different in like, the NES, SNES era, but then after like even the N64 era too a little bit. But like once kind of that PS2 GameCube era started, we started seeing like more even pricing across the board with some exceptions here and there, but usually those were like price decreases. We never seen like exceptions that led to like a price increase. I guess you could say Tears of the Kingdom started that precedent, but that was also, I think there was some controversy over that, but a little different just because at that point we did already start to see $70 games come from Xbox and especially from PlayStation. And so I think people kind of saw that as like kind of Nintendo putting their foot in the water and kind of transitioning over that $70 price. 80 is very different in that regard. I definitely understand the anger, and I think it's definitely valid. I personally don't mind it, at least at the moment, just because for one, there's no other games that have been priced along those lines. Even DK, which seems to be marketed as another high budget AAA title.
There's at least a bunch of other games that are priced at that.
Well, there's the Nintendo Switch 2 upgrades, but like that's different because a lot of those people already own those games and they're mostly going to be paying $10 to $20 to get those upgrades. But that's I feel like that's a different discussion. But like in terms of like the brand new wholesale AAA games, at the moment we don't have any evidence. I'm sure down the line there's going to be. I fully expect 3D Mario to be 80. 3D Zelda is absolutely going to be priced at 80. But at least at the moment, it doesn't seem to be too much. It doesn't seem like it's becoming the standard at the moment. And of course, in the case of Mario Kart, I mean, there's the bundle option that you have, in which case you can pay $50 for, which is $20 less than I think most of us expected to pay for it. So, and I mean, I was going to buy that day one regardless. So at least in that regards, I don't mind. It's definitely something that we need to keep our eyes on. And even though I personally am unwavered by the prices, I think it's totally valid that other people are angry, especially considering how, let's be real, Nintendo pretty intentionally swept this under the rug. They didn't mention any of the prices during the Direct. They knew that this was going to be kind of a buzzkill, to put it mildly. And this is something they should have been communicating a lot clearer, especially because, and we were talking about this in the Discord, there was, even like right when the Direct ended, in our Twitch chat, there was so much misinformation going around regarding prices and compatibility and stuff like that, and it was just like every 3 or 4 messages would be saying something different as new information would come. And like if Nintendo was just transparent, like at least like there still would be this kind of negative energy in the air, but at least that whole kerfluffle and all this misinformation, which is still going around, like there's still people that are claiming that Mario Kart World Physical is going to be $90 outside the bundle, and that's just wholeheartedly untrue, at least as of yet. But yeah, Nintendo should have communicated that clearly. I'm going to stop talking because I've talked for 5 minutes. I'm going to hand it over to you, Dak.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about it because it's like, I don't know, like I can't control the price of games, and ultimately it's like I do really want to play some of these games. On the other hand, it's like, do they feel worth it to me that they're now $70 or $80 or $90? I don't know. It's like, how much entertainment do I get out of a game, right? Like, you go to the movies nowadays, like $20, $30 for, a 3-hour experience, whatever. Like, I might play Mario Kart World for hundreds of hours. Like, is the difference of $20 to $30 really that big of a deal? On the other hand, if it's $60, $70, $80 now, $90 now, it's going to be $100. It's going to be, it could be more than that in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a really like strong opinion in the way of like, not that I don't care, but it's like I'm not well informed enough on like the economic parts of it, and like I can't be like, well, Nintendo made so much money with the Switch, they shouldn't even need to price as such. They're sitting on boatloads of money, that kind of stuff. And I'm sure no one wants to hear that either. It is a bummer I think, to now be like, oh, new premium games I want to buy from Nintendo are an extra 25%, 30% higher, right? Yeah, I'm gonna say that from my perspective, I'll likely buy less games from the Switch too, just because now if I was gonna buy 6 or 7 games, I might buy only 4 or 5 for about the same price. Are those games going to be that much better than the Switch 1 games? Maybe. I thought the console price was totally fine. I feel like they could have been a lot more upfront with that stuff. I think they knew they were like the fact that the stuff was going to be not taken well. That's why they hit it. Yeah, I would say it's a little disappointing. And I think the biggest thing is apparently that these price changes, at least in the U.S., were made before all this tariff stuff was priced in.
Yes.
And which implies that potentially they could be even higher than that. And it's like, how much do I really want to pay for all this stuff? Hobbies get more and more expensive in this economy, right? And it's, I think now maybe myself, I might, wallet watch a little bit. I'm like, oh, do I really need to buy this game? Like something I might have bought on a whim. In the past, I might not now, and I'm wondering how much of an impact they think that's going to have on the majority of people who think they might get a Switch too. Yeah, probably could have been handled a lot better. It is disappointing. I grew up when DS games were $30 and Wii games were $50, and Xbox games were $60. Like that's how it works. And now, I would have to imagine Nintendo saw GTA 6 is probably going to be $100. Like, well, we might as well just start doing it anyway, it's eventually going to happen. Why should we wait? So I guess it remains to be seen how other games are priced. I guess Nintendo's going to kind of, like you said, the premium games like Mario and Zelda and whatever, those going to be $80, and maybe your next level B tier game, and they're going to kind of show the premium in the prices. We'll see how that pays off or doesn't for them. But, yeah, it is, I still really want to play Mario Kart 8 and I still really want to play Switch 2, but it's like, damn, $80 for Mario Kart, man. It looks like I enjoyed it, Yeah.
And we'll touch on the pre-order tariff situation here in just a second, because you're not wrong. That could definitely make things even more expensive. My takeaway is number one, a couple takeaways. Number one, I think it's pretty clear that Nintendo really wants you to buy the Switch 2 bundle for Mario Kart, and that's why they're giving it at such a discount. Number two, I don't like the price point for sure. I wish that I'd at the very least, I wish they would have put the price of the Switch 2 in the direct. I think that would have been fine. Maybe leave off the price of Mario Kart, but I wish that they would have clarified, because there is still uncertainty around how much the digital version will cost. If it costs less, if it costs more, we're still not really sure. And then
not to interrupt you, but I think they have clarified that the digital and physical are both, at least in North America, are going to have parity. So it's going to be $80 digital and physical if you're not getting it in the bundle. They've clarified that already.
And at least that's something, actually. And you know what? I was reading, this came out about, it was earlier this day, somebody at IGN tracked down Bill Trinan and asked him about why does Mario Kart cost so much? And he basically said it's going to be a great value, and that they take it on a game by game basis in terms of pricing. To echo what you said though, Dak, I feel like you're right. When a game costs this much, there's no, imagine, Astral Chain is my example on the Zelda cast, right? A new IP that Nintendo is trying to push. There's no way I'm going to take a chance on a game that I'm not familiar with for $100 Canadian, right? And I think that that's kind of the sad part about, this price point is you're going to see the AAA games kind of turn into the movies, basically, where the only movies that get made now are superhero movies, or you know what I mean, movies that people know are gonna get a return on investment. So I think that's not great. This is what I would say, just my piece about the whole game price thing. I'm with you guys. I'm gonna buy Mario Kart. I think for me it's worth it, because like you said, you go to the movies, you get 2 tickets and some popcorn, that's $60 right there, right? So if I'm paying $100 and I'm gonna get multiple hours of use out of this, okay. But for everybody that's upset about it, I think that's fine, and I think that you should follow your conscience and speak with your wallet. If you want to take a stand against this, I think that's fine. If you don't, and you're this is okay, I think that's fine too. I think the thing is, a people are mad at Nintendo, and then they should be. You know, rightfully, they certainly bear some blame with this, if not a lot of blame. But I also think that like a lot of people should be asking a lot of questions. You know, and like questions like, why is the price of everything going up so much, but my income is not going up? Like, why am I paying more taxes than some of the wealthiest people on the planet? Like, who is my government looking out for me, or are they looking out for the rich guys, you know, on Wall Street or whatever, right? Like, I think that those are the real root of the issue questions, and it's pretty easy to be mad at Nintendo about this, and like I said, you definitely can be, but I think those are the real questions that you should be asking. And of course, that was just made 10 times, you know, more poignant by the tariff announcement that followed shortly after.
I will say, to make a good point, and there are two other things I want to say this before I'm done, is I wonder if it does kind of start to price out those mid-level games where, let's say you have $100 budget to buy a new game. Are you going to risk it on a game you might not know that's like $60 versus, well, Mario Kart, I'm going to buy it because I know it's going to be a good time. That's $80. That's all my money right there. Or are you just going to buy $10 indie games? Like, well, I'd rather buy 5 of those for $50, or on the other side of the spectrum, the $80 Mario Kart game, and maybe not the $60 or $50 Astral Train, because if I don't like it, well, I can't really buy that many more indie games, and I can't buy Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that actually does have some kind of effect. And aside from that, also, like, my other point was, to go back to what I said earlier, maybe some of us, like myself, might be privileged enough to be like, oh, it's only $10 or $20 more for the game. Certainly there are many other people who might not be able to afford that difference, or can't, or certainly often. And those are the people who, unfortunately, might miss out on the experience, who otherwise might enjoy it a lot. So if for me, I'm like, all right, you know, maybe another $10 or $20 in the grand scheme of things is not a big deal, but that's certainly not everybody's case. And that would be unfortunate if some people do end up missing out on it, because maybe they can only afford the Switch 2 in one game. They got to make a decision, or they can't even afford the Switch 2, or they can just afford the Switch 2 for now and then hope they can ride on their Switch 1 games, you know, stuff like that. Like, that all completely changes how many people might be able to enjoy it. So, I don't know, things to think about.
I definitely think, like, of all the people, like, definitely, like, you know, kids are gonna like suffer the worst of it, because like when you're a kid, like a $10-$20 difference is like massive. That's like a $200 difference as an adult almost, you know.
All I know is I went to my mom, was like, hey, I want to buy Mario Kart, and she's like, how much? They're like $80. She's like, good luck. Like,
here's a job application, buddy. Like,
yeah, like $50 back then.
You best start mowing a lot of lawns,
yeah,
kid.
like $50 back then. They're like, all right, fine, $80.
Yeah.
Okay. Crazy, but yeah, perspective.
Yeah, there were a couple of things I wanted to touch on. So regarding the console, obviously, you know, I think we were all hoping for 400. I think most of us would have been fine for anything below 500, and they managed to meet that, so I think that's all right. I actually, in the context of the Switch 2, though, I'm actually especially satisfied with the price, because this thing is substantially more powerful than I was expecting. And again, this is a console where I felt like we were going to see a pretty big technological leap, more than we typically see from Nintendo consoles. But again, much like Mario Kart, completely exceeded what I was expecting. I mean, Andy, you can attest to this. I like audibly gasped
you was
and like
squealing
when. What I did not think in this lifetime I would hear 120 hertz uttered from a Nintendo Direct voice. That just
you should have seen Doom when he saw that cow
guard.
driving the cart. It was unreal.
This guy wanted Marth and Mario Kart, unreal.
Yeah.
But no. So yeah, in terms of the console pricing, I think for what we're getting, I think this is actually incredibly fair. I mean, this thing is even more powerful than a Steam Deck. At least from what we see. Obviously, we don't know the actual internals, but like from what we've seen, this seems like it's going to be even more powerful than a Steam Deck, which I was expecting it to be roughly on par, if not maybe a little less. So I think 450 is an incredibly fair asking price for that. And especially, again, you know, 500 for the bundle, you get Mario Kart for $50. That's a steal for me, at least. But I'm also biased as, like, you know, a big Nintendo and Mario Kart fan.
Yeah. And
then I also wanted to talk about the game prices, the upgrades in particular, because you mentioned this, Andy, that there were some other examples of games that were $80, in particular those Nintendo Switch 2 editions, particularly the Tears of the Kingdom, and then some of the ones that also include like those DLC packs. Like you got the Kirby DLC, you got the Mario Party DLC. Those seem to be $20 as opposed to $10 that most of the other upgrade packs are being charged for. And I actually don't really mind this because we've already kind of seen examples of this. Like, I mean, go back to the Switch one. You know, you go Mario Kart 8. It's a $60 game up front, but then you pay $25 for the booster course packs. Well, now that's an $85 proposition. But those are two separate purchases technically. Now, chances are you probably already own Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and so you're only paying $25. I would imagine a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people probably already own Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And Mario Party, has been off to a huge start last year, so a lot of people who are interested in that are probably already invested. Kirby, there might be a little less people already in there, but again, like it's the same thing where it's like, let's say that this was just a Switch 1 edition and they announced like a Kirby DLC that was, $20. It would be that same thing where it's like, hey, you already own the game, you're paying $20. You don't own the game, you're paying $80. And so that's just kind of the way I see it, because you don't have to buy you don't have to buy like the Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade. If you just want that Switch 1, that baseline experience, you can do that. You could only pay $60 for it. The $80 is totally optional if you want to buy that complete edition. And the exact same thing would happen, with any other Nintendo DLC game like Mario Kart or Smash, etc. And so that's why I don't mind the $80 thing on like those Nintendo Switch 2 enhanced editions. Though I could definitely see your point though.
I'm gonna rebuke that a little. Is that how you say it? Rebuke? I don't know. I'm gonna push back against that. Yeah, there we go.
Rebuke,
now
yeah.
there is. I'll tell you for sure. I don't know about all these games. I know Breath of the Wild has DLC, but I know Tears of the Kingdom does not. Okay. And that game is being sold for $80, and that is the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Now, so there's no extra DLC to be included there, and unfortunately, what I think really takes the shine off of this is that when you buy the Switch 2 edition of any game, including Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, by the way, you're actually only getting the Switch 1 game plus the digital upgrade code. So my thinking here is like, with the price of games, almost assuredly, you are going to see an uprising in the amount of people selling their games after they're finished playing them so that they can help afford their next game. But like, if you bought the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Tears of the Kingdom and you go to resell it, you can't, because you're only selling a physical Switch game, right? Like that's a big issue, I think. And maybe that's incorrect, but because Nintendo has not clarified that. But that's the way that it is right now.
This is another one of those things where Nintendo absolutely needs to clarify, because there's three different versions of this that are coming from different reputable sources. And so one, I can't remember what the first source was. The first source was that it's using those game key cards where the Switch 1 card is on the disc, but then you can download a patch online when the cart is inserted to download the Switch 2 enhancements. Kind of like the way that a PS4 or an Xbox Series X upgrade works, where it reads to see if you have the disc, and as long as the disc is in the console, it'll allow you to download it. And then one of the support services from Nintendo of Europe, they said that it was a download code that was included in the box. And then most recently, we had a representative from Marvelous. They're a third-party developer who already has announced games for the Switch 2. And their story is, no, all of the data is on the cart, Switch 1, Switch 2, regardless, and it will only be compatible with the Switch 2. If you buy a Switch 2 physical edition, those will not work on the Switch 1. So we're having three different stories comes out, and Nintendo hasn't clarified it. It's hard to say which one is true, or if multiple ones are true and they apply to different releases. It's very confusing, and yeah.
It's a dog's breakfast is what it is, and that could be applied to this next thing that we'll quickly talk about as well, which is, of course, the pre-orders have been delayed as of right now in the United States. The day was supposed to be April 9th. As we all know, Trump put basically tariffs on the entire planet, like almost every country, including Antarctica in their penguins, that are going to have to pay for shipping ice or whatever. But the Nintendo is just, they didn't blink. They were just like, well, we're going to delay our pre-orders now. So there are a couple of scenarios, and none of them are really that great, except for the first one, which is that they just roll back the tariffs. And you know what, that could very well happen. He has said a bunch of different times that he's charging Canada this or charging Canada that, and none of it has really come to fruition. So there's still time to make everything right. I think that the other scenarios here are, none of them are particularly great. And the first one that I can see is that Nintendo, this one wouldn't be terrible. Like, Nintendo just eats the cost of the tariffs. I cannot imagine any world where that happens. I just don't see it. I don't see them eating the full cost of, like, because I don't know about you guys, but I've heard like it's going to be an extra $150 to $200 to get every single Switch 2 unit to America, basically. So that seems unlikely to me. It seems another scenario is Nintendo eats some of it and puts the other portion of that over to the consumer. So that makes the Switch 2 cost even more. The other scenario is that they don't eat any of it, and the Switch 2 is just $550, $600, whatever it's going to be in the United States, which is really rough. I think the last case scenario, I do not see this happening, but I can't say it's a 0% chance, is that the States doesn't get the Switch 2 on June 5th. I think that's really unlikely, but I can't say it's impossible. And we were kind of debating this earlier. Like, I think the way that Nintendo has traditionally operated, and this is true because they never put their games on sale, I think they'd rather sell less and make more money. And that's kind of, rather than sell more and make less money. And that's kind of why I'm thinking, like, unfortunately, I think scenario, C or D, where Nintendo just doesn't eat any of the cost or only eats a portion of it, it might be the most likely thing if nothing else budges here. So it's a really unfortunate circumstance. I can't say that I blame Nintendo for this. I can't say, like, I feel bad for you guys and for all my American friends who did not vote or support this and are just kind of, facing the repercussions here. I saw a bunch of marches and protests and stuff like that last week, which was really great to see. This is one of those things where we'll have to just keep on watching and see what happens and hope for the best. But I mean, Dak, it might cost you less to drive up to Canada and buy your Switch 2 than, buy it in the States.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against a road trip.
Hey, yeah. Go to, what's closer to you? Is Ontario or Quebec? Gotta be Quebec. Right?
Wherever Toronto is.
Yeah, okay.
Whichever one that is. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Doom, you up for a trip to Calgary?
Yeah, sure. I'm not opposed.
Right.
Put a little bit extra in my savings.
All right.
Make it happen.
Thoughts on this, if we have any? Like I said, I don't want to get too bogged down with it. But I don't just want to hog the floor here. Thoughts on this before we move on, if there's any.
I would love to talk about games and Switch 2 and Metroid stuff. So I don't have anything else to add. So I'll throw it to you, Doom.
Yeah, it sucks, but I mean, there's really not much to add. We don't really know what's going to happen until it happens. I don't really have a prediction on this one.
Indeed. Well, we'll see what happens, and hopefully everything works out. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about this nonsense anymore. What I do want to talk about is the Nintendo Switch 2, the console, and how it plays, how it performs, some of the games that are coming on Nintendo Switch 2. My like excitement level is still incredibly high, even with all the shenanigans from last week. So I'm really like looking forward to the 5th. And I have to say, guys, like it's been like 11 years since the last time I bought a TV. I was watching that Metroid Prime 4 footage and I was like, should I upgrade? I might have to upgrade and buy a 4K TV. So I might do that too. I am privileged, like you said, to maybe be able to go down that avenue. But yeah, so as we all know, when the Nintendo Switch 2 was initially revealed, like a month ago or whatever it was now, what is time? They said that there was going to be a couple of different spots around the country that were going to have these Switch 2 events. And of course, one of them was in NYC, and our very own Dakota Lasky, got to get some hands-on impressions with the Switch 2. So the first thing I want to ask you, Dak, tell me about the experience. I'm assuming this is at Nintendo New York, right?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, really? Where was it?
It was, I mean, it was this building called Center 415, which is a couple blocks off of Bryant Park in like the Midtowny Times Square-ish adjacent area of the city. So it's not at like Rockefeller Center, and it's like an event. It's like an event space, which I'm assuming hosts like
I guess that makes
any
a lot more
company
sense.
who wants to like license it and use it for like a big like warehousey type like event space. So it wasn't at Nintendo New York.
That makes a lot more sense now that you say that.
Yeah.
I went to Bryant Park when I was there. It was a nice little spot.
I love I've been to Bryant Park so many times. It's one of my favorite spots in the city.
So yeah, like what was the atmosphere like? I guess like just with everything we talked about, like what I don't know, like what was the vibe, for lack of a better word, amongst the fans, amongst like other people there. Give us kind of the feeling on the ground.
Yeah. So it was definitely kind of like it was like amusement parky, like everyone's in line, like excited to try out new things. It had that kind of like, I don't know if anyone's ever been to like a Nintendo event, but like, like, hey, who's excited for the new Nintendo Switch? Get everyone to clap like that. A bunch of moments like that. Obviously very family friendly. Like there were a lot of like individuals, like people in their 20s, 30s, but there were like a couple families I saw with like kids and whatnot who were there too. So, it was like the typical kind of clean and sanitized Nintendo experience. It was pretty cool. So I guess I can go through like how it was worked out, because I was there for like I think like 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was a long experience. So super easy to get in. There was like a really short line outside. You get in, you check in with your ticket. And by the way, I feel like I got in because I picked a session that was like midday on a Friday. So like during the work day, during the school day, and I was an individual. So like it was easy to slot me in, and like it's like you go to an amusement park, it's like whoever fill, the people who fill those rides are the single riders, they got 3 people, like that was me. So I think that helped getting picked. Super easy to get in. They gave you like a little pass and like a passport, like a game passport, which I'll explain later. And then we went inside. There was like a staging area kind of, which was like a short little area before the first room, like where we got to look at like the new Switch and the Joy-Cons and the accessories and the boxes, some of the game covers. It had like these kind of like museum-esque like box displays for some stuff. And then you also got to hold the Nintendo Switch for the first time, or Switch 2. Like it wasn't on or anything. We got to hold it. It was essentially just like 4 or 5 stations where people got to like hold it. And it was cool. For holding a Switch 2 that wasn't on. For my big hands, I would say the biggest thing is that the Switch 2 feels very comfortable if you have big hands. It feels like if the Switch 1 felt a little small for you, the Switch 2 is going to feel very perfect in your hands, especially with bigger hands. So that was probably the best thing. It feels like a sturdier, better made, bigger version of the Switch 1.
Nice.
Aside from that, it's nothing very shocking. Like if you've played a Switch, it's pretty similar. Then so after that lobby area, we were there for like 20, 30 minutes actually, which we were just waiting for the session in front of us to finish. So then we went to the first room, which was the big Mario Kart World, room 1. It's only Mario Kart World setups, and they paired you off with somebody, and you played the Grand Prix mode. And so if I remember correctly, because it was kind of newish, it was like you played like what, like you did one race at a time, and each race was like one lap of 4 different tracks, kind of. It was like it was kind of hard to follow, but it was essentially a Grand Prix race. It was cool. You got to pick all the new characters. I played the cow. You got to play it on the Switch 2, not the Pro controller, but like the Joy-Cons put into like that thing that makes it a controller. And then you also got to play it on the Switch 2 itself. It looked good, looked really crisp, looked sweet. Played a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was Mario Kart. You were there for like 15, 20 minutes. Then you went to Mario Kart World Room 2, which was upstairs, and that was where you played Mario Kart with the Pro controller, and you got to do free roam and knockout mode. So pretty much what happens is when everyone's in a lobby for knockout mode and they're picking their tracks after you've like picked your track or Grand Prix or whatever it was, you were in free roam and just like waiting for everyone else to be loaded in and pick their stuff. And you're just literally able to drive wherever you want, and jump into the river and drive around in that, and grind on random railings and drive around in circles, anything you want to do. And then you go into knockout mode. I would say knockout mode and free roam, like that was the most fun I've had playing Mario Kart in like quite some time. Like knockout mode is like pure Mario Kart, like frantic, like intensity and fun. You go through like a big race, and there's like certain checkpoints, and if you're not in that top cut, you're knocked out. And so it goes from like 16 to like 12 to 8 to 4. And that was so much fun because it was literally like a ton of us in like an area, all on our big setups, all racing. They got the staff going around like, oh, this guy's still in this, whoever, right? And it's so stressful because you're like desperately trying to not get Mario Karted and get hit by items and then left behind. I made it to the top 4 of my session, and I really wanted to win because I thought maybe I'd get like a special like reward for getting it first. I don't think anyone got that. But I got Mario Kart and I got hit by a bunch of items and I got 4th. But I made it to the final cut. But like, man, like the stress of like trying to make it not be the first one out, and try to be the last one in or better was, I mean, so much fun. That was probably my favorite part of the experience. And then you went to the open play room. So that's where that passport I mentioned came in. So there were a bunch of different setups for a whole different slew of games, and you get to go around and like you had like an hour and a half or so to go to a bunch of different games and play them, and you're supposed to play at least like 6 different ones. So that's where Metroid Prime 4 was. That's where the GameCube Classic setup was. That's where the Zelda upgrade versions were. There were a bunch of third-party games: Civilization 6, Harry Potter, Yakuza. There was Super Mario Party Jamboree. There was Drift X Drive, the wheelchair basketball.
Tell me you played that game.
I did play that game.
Yes.
Like, how do you not play that game?
Yes.
And actually, it had like the most setups there too. Like it was tons of people able to play it. So that one you pretty much had like, they brought you in. You're like, okay, you need to be at the end of this room by this time to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. So you could do whatever you wanted in that time. And each demo was like 15, 20 minutes. So you really only could play 5 or 6 games at a time. So I obviously played Metroid Prime 4. I played one of the GameCube classics. They had F-Zero GX, Super Mario Strikers, Wind Waker, and Soul Calibur 2, and I played Soul Calibur 2. Just because I was like, which of these games is the like least recent that I've played, right? Like I played Super Mario Strikers recently, I played Wind Waker recently. I haven't played F-Zero recently, but I just played a racing game, so I was like, I'm gonna play Soul Calibur, and I'm gonna play as Link. I played Drift X Drive, I played Super Mario Jamboree, Civilization 6, and then Street Fighter 6. I was also interviewed by CBS at one point in between these games, and it didn't make it to TV, but I was interviewed. And then you had Donkey Kong Bonanza, which was the last 15, 20-minute room. You went there, you played that, and then they gave you a cool backpack, and you got to leave. So I did get something.
Oh, do you have that backpack right now? We got to see that bad boy.
Yeah. So
did they allow you to take pictures there?
Oh, yeah. You could take pictures and video. I might have posted a couple on my Instagram, whatever. But yeah, it's a nice little backpack.
That is pretty nice. So I want to go through the games, like individually that you played, and maybe we'll start with Metroid and we'll end with like Donkey Kong or something like that. But I do want to talk about just the Joy-Con 2s really quickly. What I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, was almost like a flat surface, and the TV was in front of you, and you could switch to the mouse con and stuff like that. Did you have a chance to play any games in mouse con mode?
Oh yeah, I mean, I played Metroid Prime 4 was all set up for mouse con mode. Civilization 6 was, Drifted X Drive was, Super Mario Jamboree was. I would say a lot of the games there were set up for that, and they had like these tables that could like go up and down, kind of like a big like standing desk almost, and then these big like that took over almost the whole tabletop. These big generic like no branding on it, gray mouse pads. Or equivalent to mouse pads. I even said to a couple of the staff, I'm like, I'm surprised y'all are not like, not that they would know, because they're probably just like from a third party company hired to do this event. Yeah. I was like, I'm surprised y'all aren't like selling Nintendo branded mouse pads. Like, that's such a good idea. I'm like, you're making mouse cons. I don't know why you wouldn't. But yeah, a lot of them were set up specifically to play with the mouse con mode. There were some games that weren't. And I'm sure there were games, and like the GameCube classics, for example, like you played with a GameCube controller, the new one. I didn't see every game set up that way, but I'm pretty sure a majority of them were. If all of them were, that might have also been the case. The ones I played, all of them but Street Fighter 6 and the GameCube classics were. So obviously Mario Kart wasn't, like Donkey Kong wasn't, but in that room, a lot of them were set up for the mouse cons.
Well, what did you think? How did they feel? And how was the transition to MouseCon? Like from regular playing?
I mean, for me, it was intuitive because I'm a big mouse and keyboard gamer. To me, I think it is a little bit to get used to because unlike a regular mouse, like the mouse cons aren't very, like a Joy-Con's not very wide when you're holding it in that way. So you really don't have a lot of real estate with your hand on it. In a perfect world, if I was a third party accessory maker, I would be making something that you put the mouse con into that is the shape of a real mouse. And like you slot it into it, and then I would buy that in a heartbeat. I might even make that myself and start selling it because that every time I use it, I was like, oh, if this was just a regular mouse, it would be perfect. But it's not wide enough. But it's really cool. Metroid Prime was awesome. I thought Super Mario Party or Mario Party Jamboree, I don't know what it was. Mario Party. The games where you're using the mouse cons and whatnot, that was a perfect fit for that. There's so many cool different things that work well for that. I thought Civ 6 was really good. So like games that are made for PC and show up on Switch 2, I think will actually work really well. What was really cool about that is you have your left Joy-Con, which is you're holding normally, and you're using like the control stick and buttons. Then you have the mouse con, which you can manipulate as a mouse, but you still have access to that right side joystick. So you almost get like 3 ways to manipulate at the same time. So you're able to like move around your mouse and click stuff and manipulate the camera and different dimensions, which was very cool because you have like your thumb on the joystick on the right and moving around the mouse con. That felt really good. It was actually really cool, and that's something I haven't really thought about. And it's not something you can really do in any other kind of setup. So that was really cool. I would say I wish I was able to change the sensitivity, like in Metroid Prime. Like I felt like the sensitivity was too high with the mouse cons. But overall, it's cool. It's comfortable. Like I said, that like mouse accessory would be perfect for. But it's cool. It's surprising how well it works.
I have to imagine in the final game there should be an option to change that sensitivity. I'm guessing that was just something that they locked in for the demo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would turn it down.
One thing I did want to ask regarding the mouse cons, because on a previous episode, and I can't remember what it was, but Andy and we were discussing at the time the rumored mouse con features, and one thing that stood out to me is like, well, if this really does function like a mouse, I'd imagine you would have to have a flat surface. But but as the demos have come out, I've seen some journalists talk about how they were able to try using the mouse con on their leg and they had zero issues with that. I was wondering if you were able to try that as well, or if you didn't get that opportunity.
I didn't do that because I didn't need to. I felt comfortable enough on the setup they had for us. But when I was playing Drift X Drive, the guy to my left did do that. He sat back a little bit and he used his like jeans, like his legs to do it, and he had no problem. That was for that game. So I don't know if you would do that for every game, because that game's kind of like a party game. But yes, there were people doing that. I didn't do it because I felt I didn't need to, but there were people doing that, and it seemed to work perfectly fine.
Well, I'll tell you what. We've been talking for 40 minutes here. It's time. Tell us about Metroid Prime 4. Tell us about the demo, what area you played, how it looked, how it ran, where it ended. Would I be right in assuming you kind of got to play the same demo as we saw in the Treehouse footage?
I didn't watch the Treehouse footage, but I will say that probably what you've seen is what I got to play, which was the opening sequence. There's a big cutscene. You land just like how Samus like arrives in that first trailer we see over the cliffside. That's where you jump right in. You go into the base area. You interact with a bunch of Federation troopers who say some stuff, NPC stuff to you. It's very tutorially, like here's how to scan stuff. This is a scanning door. There's a lock-on door, right, where you have to be locked on but use the mouse to individually shoot stuff. You learn how to use the space jump. You learn how to use the morph ball. Like the space pirates are attacking. Silex shows up, blah blah blah. And well, I guess that's at the end. But yeah, you pretty much are going through that base thing that we saw in the first trailer. You end up at that golem type boss, Agarax or Avarax, whatever its name was. And then the Silex cutscene happens right after that, and then it ends.
So let's talk. Actually, the first thing I wanted to talk about, just before we even get to like the like in-game content, like how did it look? Like how did it feel just moving around? Like the transition from morph ball to to regular form, like anything along those lines, like performance wise, or just like taking it in, just looking at it.
I mean, the game is beautiful. It looks so good. It runs great. There was no hiccuping or anything like that. The initial cutscene, which I'm sure you've probably seen on the internet already, is so good, awesome,
Incredible.
Yeah, it's really sick. I will say, like, unfortunately, I couldn't really hear the music because it was just so loud in there, and I didn't have headphones. But it looks the part. It looks amazing. The area I got to play, like the beginning, is very much like the beginning of Prime 3. Like it's like almost like it's the exact same type of gameplay. Like you're very much funneled linearly through to different set pieces. There's there's a moment where you're in a big open area and there's a cutscene with a mech and you're fighting alongside the mech. And then you go to the next set piece. It's very on rails. So if you played Prime 3, it's pretty much exactly like the opening -2, a Ridley boss fight. I will say that I would say that the overall takeaway I had from it is that it looks really good. It feels very polished. The morph ball stuff felt really good, very clean, very smooth. The first boss is a pretty decent tutorial boss that kind of gets you the idea of like being locked on, but being able to manipulate the cursor very much like in Prime 3 with the Wii gyro controls. It's very similar to that in terms of the execution. You go through a morph ball tunnel like in the girders up in the ceiling of a room, and you get an energy tank. Very simple stuff. You learn how to scan. Looks really cool, feels really good. Obviously, it was very fun to finally play with like official mouse controls with it, and it's cool because you have the benefits of the mouse and whatnot, but also the feeling of like instead of like WASD digital movement, you have like the analog movement with the stick. So that's really cool. The controls were very easy to pick up, especially if you've played a Prime game before. Yeah, overall, it looked very good. It felt very good to play.
One thing did. Oh, I'm sorry, Doom. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so something that they mentioned in the treehouse was how easily you could swap between the mouse controls and the standard controls, which I thought was really cool. Did you have a chance to try that out during the demo?
I didn't even think to do that because I was so just using the mouse con controls.
You were locked in.
Well, yeah. Well, it's only like a 15-minute demo, and I only played it once, right? So like to me, it was like I'm just gonna experience the game, and I didn't really like go into it like, oh, I gotta check this, I gotta check that, which I probably should have, but like I was just like all wrapped up in the fun of the event. I was like, I'm just gonna play the game. I actually don't remember if I saw anybody playing it with the dual analog controls. I would believe that is easy to swap between them, but I just use the mouse con controls.
I was going to say, one thing that I was been curious about since we saw the initial footage was, did you fire off like any missiles? Because I know they're mapped to a different button. How did that feel as a veteran of the other Prime games? Pretty okay?
Yeah, it felt totally fine. Felt pretty natural. I don't remember exactly what button it was set to, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty easy to just use missiles, right? Like nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. And so I'm assuming then, obviously the demo ends with that cutscene with the artifact that kind of goes wild, and that artifact is what's behind the logo of Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
That's where it ends.
That's where it ends. Right after that boss battle you have with the tutorial boss, that's when Silex like busts into the room and causes a kerfluffle and accidentally shoots the artifact, and then everybody gets swallowed up by the shockwave of energy, and then it ended. It was cool. It was awesome. It was very cool. That was like it's I guess like There was probably no world in which like me seeing Silux the first time would have been that moment. But it was really cool then to actually like be playing the game like, oh, that's
Yeah.
actually happening. This is really cool. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that was the. It wasn't a long demo. It really wasn't. Like I want to say every demo was like capped at like 15, 20 minutes anyway. So like, I don't know if it would have ended if I took my time, because I did take my time. There was a portion where I'm like scanning everything, like even like just like the color scans that don't give you like a lore entry. I'm just scanning everything. I'm shooting and opening every different crate, you know, just to really get the most juice out of it. So I don't know if it would, and I also kind of took my time with the boss because it was easy, but I don't know if it would have ended if I took too much time. But yeah, I tried to savor it.
I will say this, and we'll review this footage next week, but you should have seen the guy that they had in the Nintendo live stream, like the treehouse, fighting this boss. It was painful.
It was rough.
Imagine.
It was painful.
I do feel bad for him because I mean, obviously, like, and because like obviously these guys aren't going to be like, you know,
Yeah.
tip top MLG pro gamers. You know, they're just kind of they're doing a job. And as you and I both are well aware, you know, when the camera's on you, you can make mistakes that you never thought were possible.
Indeed. The guy was entertaining, very entertaining. Like, no shade on the guy.
Oh, yeah.
but He
would
was like not
imagine-
going to use lock on no matter what.
I would imagine. Well, I'm sure they were trying to like show off you can just like free
Yeah.
aim, and like when I've played, you know, the Metroid Prime trilogy on like, you know, Prime Hack, it's a lot smoother because I can set up my sensitivity and whatnot. Whatever the sensitivity they had for the demos was high. So like if you aren't already used to like, even for me, I was like missing shots and having a little bit of trouble just because my aim was going all over the place. But yeah, it like that last boss wasn't very hard. I saw some people online be like, "Oh, the health is too high and it's a bullet sponge." I'm like, you do not know what a bullet sponge boss is if you think this is a bullet sponge. It was one of the easiest bosses you could possibly. It was cool. Like it shows like, okay, you can lock on and still move your mouse con around and aim at different stuff, and got to use your space jump to jump over the shockwave and use your morph ball to go under it. Like it was cool. I would probably say that that's the one, now that I think about it more, the one takeaway from the demo that probably wasn't the best was it didn't really, like, it was a very basic Metroid Prime experience. So if you played Metroid Prime before, you didn't get to, like, the psychic abilities weren't there. You didn't have like some of her higher up upgrades, and like power bombs or screw attack, which is obvious, but like it was essentially like you had your missiles, your morph ball bomb, your space jump, and your morph ball. Like that was really it. So it felt limited in that way. And if you've never played Metroid Prime before, you weren't getting any like the new juice as well. And for me, what makes mouse and keyboard really fun, or like mouse controls for Metroid Prime, is not in the combat sense of things, because there is lock on. It's like the platforming. It makes like moving through the world a lot smoother and seamless. You're able to like very easily jump and look around and where you're going, which you couldn't really do with tank controls, and you can do now with dual analog, but maybe not as fluidly. And there wasn't any of that in this demo. Like it was straight up pretty much like combat and just moving through room to room. I wish it had a little bit more platforming to it to really give you like the experience of having more freedom to look around with the mouse cons. From a combat sense, it was pretty straightforward. Like if you were messing up your aim, you could just keep locking onto the enemy and it would reset your aim anyway. So it wasn't anything crazy. So it didn't really, like, I had more fun with Mario Kart just because it was so brand new, all this stuff. Whereas this, like, if you played Metroid Prime before, it was pretty much, it wasn't really anything new, you know? So it was enjoyable, but I was like, all right, I wish I had maybe gotten a different area, or maybe the area was set up a little bit more, so maybe it was a bit more engaging to me as a veteran player. But it certainly was great to be like, wow, I'm playing a new Metroid Prime game, and it's new, and it's not a game that I've already played a bunch of times in the past, even if it was, you know, literally, not literally, but like functionally similar.
Yeah, fair. Haven't played a new Metroid Prime game in 10 years since Federation Force.
Exactly.
There you
Yeah,
go.
like that was very cool, and it was awesome, and I was like, oh wow, like it's brand new, but it's familiar, and that was a lot of fun.
The
Speaking
opening
of
area
Federation
did look
Force-
pretty small, I will say.
It was.
I do wonder, because the Metroid Prime 2 demo actually did the something similar, where that demo, it kind of like reconstructed the layout of some of the rooms. Like you go to Aegon Waste after like 2 or 3 rooms. And so I do wonder if like maybe for this demo they cut down a little bit on that intro sequence, because the intro, it kind of feels like this is the entire intro sequence. I do have to wonder if like that's really it, because usually those Metroid Prime intros, even the ones that aren't as bombastic as Prime 3. Even those tend to last a bit longer than this.
Yeah, but I think maybe that's just more indicative of like just modern gaming and just like modern attention spans. Like this want to get you into the game real quick. I don't know if like they would be like, oh, we got to get even like the original Metroid Prime intro area. Like it's a lot of walking, you know, it's a lot of kind of downtime between stuff. To me, I would not be surprised if that intro demo I did is exactly how it is in the full product and the final product.
That would be my thought. It kind of reminded me when I was watching it of like a Metroid Prime version of like Sarah's Space Colony from Super Metroid, right? Like just kind of quick, dirty, get to the point, and you're out of there, and you're on to the real meat and potatoes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah.
So yeah, very exciting for Metroid Prime 4, and we'll break down some of the footage and talk about some of the Easter eggs and all that kind of stuff.
Real quick, I don't know if you're going to jump to something else, but it was really funny. I think someone had already posted this, and I'm sure other people have. But there's a scan where I think it's on the boss, where it talks about how the Metroids are like taking over, like it's like the new host, whatever, and it says Metroid Fusion in the scan. I was like, oh, Metroid Fusion. I guess that's what they're calling it when the Metroids like go into one of these enemies and like takes it over.
I guess that makes sense. It's literally a fusion with Metroid.
Yeah, it was, and I was like, oh, okay, that was cool. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, one last thing I did want to say, and we'll obviously talk more about this next week when we really start breaking down that footage, but my God, those Federation Force mechs, man, what a glow up.
My God.
Oh, yeah.
What could have been? What could have been?
I thought the whole thing, I mean, like, the whole intro sequence with, like, the ship warfare, and to me, I'm like, I hope that we really get some ship time in the game, because, like, they emphasize in the cutscenes, like, Samus switching between, like, combat mode and, like, flight mode and, like, different weapons on the ship, and she's, you know, taking out stuff. Yeah, that was really cool, and then you get on the planet, and you get to interact with the Federation troopers, who I think who look really good, and like their design is really cool. And then the mechs are very sweet, very awesome. I'm excited to see how some Metroid fuses with one or something and later in the game, because they're very powerful. It seems they're able to just like fire off at ships flying around and knock them out of the sky. So those are really cool. And there's a moment where you are fighting alongside Federation troopers and one of the mechs. It's nothing crazy, but it is definitely cool, and I love that feeling of like you're part of, like, you know, it's not super Metroid-ish, but at least for a sequence like this, it's like you're fighting alongside Federation troopers in a big battle sequence, a lot going on. It's all very cinematic and very intense and exciting and high energy. So it was a lot of fun to see that. And yes, a very big glow up for the Federation Force mechs. I'm absolutely here for it, to kind of regain some of, you know, the tarnished
their honor.
Like, kind of, you know, give it a second chance. And I think that's actually really cool.
I love that. That was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. It is pretty funny to imagine that in the actual game, the space pirates had to have been that tall fighting those Federation Force mechs, but I digress.
One takeaway, we'll talk about this more next week before we move on from Metroid Prime 4 here, but like, holy cow, do I ever just have a lust for ship combat in this game. Like, if you were to tell me like they're just making a spin-off game and it's just like Samus' ship only, it's like a Star Fox game or something, but it's like Samus' ship, I'd be so down for that. Like, this opening cutscene, oh my goodness.
If there was anything to be like, oh, I need this in the game, it's that cutscene telling me, hey, Samus using her ship would be really cool. And I hope it's not just for that cutscene. You know, I would imagine it's not, because that big power, like, energy wave takes up like the whole base, and like a significant, I would have to imagine Samus's ship gets caught in that, and she's eventually able to access it and maybe explore and use it around Vuros. So yes, that part of me like is you know, excited to see what the potential is for that. I'm excited to see if Samus hops in a Federation mech herself. I'm curious to see if Samus has to ward off Metroid fusion, which, like, I don't know how that would work with her DNA at this point, but like, I don't, you know, in the timeline, but yeah, there's a whole lot of potential with what I got to see a little bit in the demo that, again, made me wish we got just a little bit more of that in the actual gameplay of the demo, and it wasn't just like the most basic Metroid Prime experience you could possibly have.
And I wonder
In a
if
good
that
way.
was just like by design too, just to like integrate, because I think the goal is obviously to make it like a lot of new Metroid fans here. So I wonder if that was just maybe let's keep it simple.
I'm sure it was, because I'm sure for a majority of people playing it, it's probably their first Metroid Prime experience. For many of them, they probably don't play FPS games, or if they do, maybe they don't play them with mouse controls. So like, you can't overcomplicate it. Sorry, too much. On that note, though, it was funny because when I got to my part of the demo, this guy's just doing his job, but like, I get to the demo and he's trying to like explain to me like what's going on. I'm like, buddy, I know what's going on here, all right? I know what's happening. Just let me watch, let me experience it. Like like at the beginning of the cutscene, there's like a little text thing of what's happening.
Yeah.
And then like the beginning of the cutscene, he's trying to like explain to me. I'm like, I know, trust me. I let me get it myself. But that's not his fault. That's
300
his job to do
episodes
that.
into the Omega Metroid podcast.
I was gonna say, like, dude, you're like, trust me, I can tell you what's going on. Actually, no, I didn't fault him for that. Obviously trying to do his job, and once I think he got the gist of it when I started playing, and I was like, he's like, all right, this guy's played the games before, I'm sure. But
was
yeah,
there
that was
like a
funny.
particular like I'm assuming like lots of people were flocking towards Mario Kart. Was there like a lot of people like over at the Prime booth, or was it just kind of like people just going from booth to booth to booth? I have to imagine a game like Yakuza, for example, maybe didn't have long lines. Maybe I'm wrong.
So like, I mean, how it was set up was like, so like in the free play area where Metroid Prime 4 was, like Mario Kart and DK weren't part of that. Like those were separate rooms where
Oh, I see.
you only played those, and they had enough booths for everybody. When you got to the free play area, yeah, everything was. I mean, there were times where I had to wait a little. I didn't have to wait for Metroid Prime 4 because I was one of the first people to walk in, and I walked right over there. But yeah, like all the Metroid Prime 4 setups were all filled pretty much when I saw them. And like they didn't have enough, like too many people in each session where like you were waiting around really. Like you were able to jump onto another game. They had Yakuza and Cyberpunk off to the corner behind like a mature content area, so I couldn't really see like what was going on over there, but they had a few people back there to, at all times. Yeah, there weren't a lot of situations where like you were like waiting to really play anything. So but Metroid Prime, it's pretty much seemed like there was always someone on it and checking it out. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Doom, any final questions on Metroid Prime 4 before we maybe talk about some of the other games that we saw?
Not really. Most of the other stuff I think is best we save till next week. It's more so like story implications, Easter eggs, and stuff like that. So
yeah, overall it was really cool. I mean, it was obviously a super sick opportunity and privilege to play the game early. And now I can finally say that I've literally played Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just I don't know, man. I'm just an old adult now, because it's like, I'm sure if I was a kid, I'd be like losing my mind. Now I'm just like, oh, that was really. I almost feel like I'm not appreciating it enough. I was like, wow, I actually played Metroid Prime 4. Like that's crazy. It was really cool. I will say, like, I'm very happy to say that like the game exists. It's cool. It's if you're like looking for Metroid Prime, that's what it is. Like you're not. It's not gonna. As far as I know, nothing I experienced was like, oh, this is a little too radical of a change. Like this is, it is pure Metroid Prime. And certainly the intro is very like Prime 3-ish, but I feel like the rest of the game's going to be more like a Prime 2, Prime 1 experience. Mm-hmm. So if you are feeling any reservations about the game, I don't feel any reservations about it. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. It's pure Metroid Prime, and I can't wait to play more of it.
Actually, one last thing I will say. I think this means you and I, Dak, we are the only two people who have been able to play a Metroid game early now. So we got to get Andy to get Metroid 6 early now.
When did you play a game early?
Samus Returns at the Nintendo World Championship tryouts. They had
nice.
And yeah, because you had to play Mario Kart 7 and get like the high time to get qualified, but they also had a Samus Returns and a Mario Odyssey demo there as well. I don't know if you can see it, but I actually got those posters right back there. I think the Metroid poster is blocked by my camera, but yeah.
We got to get Andy on a pre-release experience.
They're gonna let me play like Metroid Other M2 early or something like that. Here you go. You can play this one. All right. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Dak. Let's quickly run down a few more of these other games, and we could say like as much or as little as we want to about them. Did we have any other thoughts on Mario Kart World, or do we just want to move on to some other games?
I will just say that, like I said, knockout mode was the most fun I've had playing Mario Kart in a while. It's so much fun. Free roam is very much to me like if you ever play GTA and you just like load up into the game and you just get into a car and start driving around and like messing stuff up. Like that's, I wish there was like a radio playing almost. Like it was a lot of really cool, a lot of fun to just like drive around, do tricks off very little bump, grind off things. Mario Kart was really cool, and I played as the cow. And that was really cool, and I enjoyed that. I played only as the cow.
I love it. They gotta find a way to get Nintendo Music linked to like Switch too. I feel like that'd just be so perfect.
I could definitely do a whole podcast on like all the Mario Kart stuff. I don't think this is the right audience for that, so I won't drone on too long. I will say knockout mode, when they were pitching that in the direct, it actually really reminded me of Burnout Revenge's takedown or elimination mode. Excuse me. I don't know. Have you played any of the Burnout games, Dak?
I played the original Burnout.
Gotcha. Okay. I haven't played the first one, so I don't know if they have elimination in that one.
I don't remember, but yeah, it was honestly like it was when you play, you're like, wow, this is like pure Mario Kart. Like this is sort of been in the game already, and it's so hectic with 24 players because you just don't know, like you're gonna get screwed, but you also know everyone else is gonna get screwed. I will say that I think we played it at like 100cc, and it also had like safe steering on.
Mm-hmm.
So like unless you had like a boost or something, like you couldn't go off track. So I wish I was able to more purely play it on my own. I want to say drifting was pretty similar to Mario Kart 8. Like it wasn't like snaking was brought back or anything like that. Like it was like if you play Mario Kart 8, you'll be able to easily pick the game up. The only thing that I had to get used to was the items automatically going behind you. I was accidentally letting items go because I was hitting the button to hold it to put it behind me, and then I would just end up using it. So that's something that took a moment or two to kind of get used to. But yeah, Mario, that was probably the most fun I've had playing probably any game in quite some time. Knockout mode was really sick, and it was so excited. Like there were a couple times where I was the last person to get over the checkpoint. I was like, oh my god, I can't! Like, oh my god! But then you're still in the race. You know, so you just gotta keep hustling. It was sick. I loved it.
You know, it's really funny. Like we at the Zelda Dungeon Marathon, we play the Minish Cap is similarly to that, where it's like knockout mode, where like the last person to get to the dungeon is eliminated. And I may or may not have been thinking of ways to incorporate that for the next Omega Metroid Marathon. So it's a blast. I can't wait to play that.
And you know what? Sorry, not to go more on this, but if I was making Mario Kart, I would create some kind of like balloon battle royale in the free roam, or like where you could like drive around and try to take people out with items and whatnot. I have like if that's not in the game, that they're dropping the ball, because that would be so cool. That wasn't what I had, but I hope that's a thing.
There's got to be a block somewhere on that map, right?
the Doom they put back like the battle mode in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, right?
Yeah, well, so technically, base Mario Kart 8 still had a battle mode, but like they reused the racetracks, and it was just really awful. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe though got a proper battle mode though, and they kind of went all out for it, because they not only did they typically Mario Kart games only have like 3 at most, they brought back like every single battle mode from the series history, and then also added like a new cops and robbers mode, which is actually like super fun.
Do you guys remember that mode from Diddy Kong Racing where you had to like get the pterodactyl eggs or whatever and take them back to the nest? That needs to come back.
I love those different modes in Diddy Kong Racing. Those are so cool.
Those are so good. Or the one that with the castle where you got to collect coins. That's what we need for Mario Kart World. All right, let's move on, because I do want to talk about some other games. I know that probably no one is interested in this, but I was very curious to hear about Drift and Drive. Is that what it's called? Did I get
Drift
that wrong?
Drift Drive?
Oh, I'm saying Drift X Drive. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you have to play that. Like when you're at this event, you're like, I gotta sit down for Drift X Drive. Also, it was one of the only games there where every time, when you had your passport, they wrote down what game you played in the 6 slots, and then you're supposed to then you give that to somebody. And I guess that was like probably a little survey they did on like who was playing what. That was one of the games where it didn't count for that. So like I asked one of the guys, like, could I theoretically just sit here and play Metroid the whole time? Like, I guess you could, but like we want you to experience all the different games and see what you want to play. So I stuck to that. But Drift X Drive was one of the games where you could have done that and kind of grinded it or played it in lieu of losing a spot, or not losing a spot. So I sat down and played that. They had a setup where it was like 3v3, and you did like a tutorial, and then you played like a 3-on-3 game with 5 other people. And honestly, it was like I don't know how to explain it. It was like a full-fledged like WarioWare mini game. It felt like to me in terms of just like how it played, because it's like really goofy. So you're literally like going like this, pushing forward to push the wheels back, and like you can go in different directions to turn. There's like a break, and then you use your hand to like actually like do a basketball shooting gesture to actually make that happen. Honestly, it was funny. It was fun. Like, I don't know if I would like it's if you had the room, I guess, in your apartment or house to like host like a game with people, it would be a fun party game. Like, because it's so silly and like, I don't know, like just kind of goofy how you're playing it. I will say that I actually enjoyed it. I had a decent amount of fun playing it. I had a hard time.
By the way, it's called Drag X Drive. I'm so sorry.
Is it Drag X Drive?
What
was I
drag.
saying?
I butchered it. I called it Drive
Drift
X Drift.
Drag?
Whatever
What
the
is
hell
it?
it's called. It's
Drift
Drag
X.
X Drift.
Drag X Drift.
Yes,
Sorry, honestly, I didn't even know what that was.
To
Yeah.
drag to drift.
That's
It was
right.
kind of funny. I had a hard time knowing what team I was on in the game, so I'm thankful that my teammates carried me. The only thing I'll say about it is that it is very tiring on your forearms, and you will, if you play that game, I felt a little bit of strain and a little bit of tiredness. I'd be like, you can't play a lot of this at once. It's a real repetitive motion that's not fun on the arms, at least how I was situated. But it was an interesting little tech demo-y, I guess, display for the Switch 2.
I can't explain why, but I was kind of like rooting for this game. Like I was like, I hope Dak has a good time with it, because like everyone kind of dumped on it during the like reveal, and I get it, but I don't know. I was kind of hoping that it would be fun. Yeah, you know what this game kind of reminds me of in concept, not like in gameplay, but like it kind of gives me the same vibes that ARMS gave me when it launched on Nintendo Switch. Do you think that's kind of,
I guess,
apt?
I mean, I feel like this is, I don't know. Like I said,
not
it
in
feels like
terms
a
of gameplay,
WarioWare.
of course, but like just in terms of like it's trying to show off like maybe some of the stuff for the Switch 2, or
Yeah, I
don't
could
know,
see
whatever.
it being that kind of way, or maybe a little more Wii Sportsy than that. Though I guess this was a little more intense, or like a little more detailed than the Wii Sports experiences, which were very simple gestures. This was very more complex. And it does take they give you a whole tutorial. It does take a little bit to get like kind of figure out like how this works. I'm glad I tried it out though, because I was like, how do I not play this game?
You know, and this is one of those games, like, to go back to our beginning conversation, Doom, I don't know, do you know if this game has a price yet? I mean, if it's selling for 70 or 80 bucks, like forget about it, right? Like, no one's gonna buy it. But I think if this is like a $30 game, I could be convinced to maybe go for it.
I want to say it's like $40 or $50. Don't quote me on that though. I don't know off the top of my head.
It kind of does look like Blast Ball a little bit from the acclaimed Metroid Prime Federation Force. So, all right, well, so that was Drag X Drift. Sorry to that. GameCube games. I'm sure that just felt like a GameCube game. I'm interested to see how that controller felt, actually.
I mean, it felt like a GameCube controller. You know, it was if you've played it with a GameCube controller, it's like that, except wireless. Which, if you had a Wavebird back in the day, it's like that. So felt fine. Yeah, I played Soul Calibur 2 just because I was like, okay, like I played, and someone next to me was playing Wind Waker, and it looked great. And then someone was also playing F-Zero next to me, looked fine, looked great. And I've played, they all look pretty much how they look. I would say Soul Calibur 2 looked a little better, though the menus and like anything with any kind of text on it, especially small text, was certainly still kind of pixely. But it was fun to play some Soul Calibur 2, which was one of my favorite GameCube games growing up. I did use Link, who I know competitively is a really bad character, But I didn't get to use the Megaton hammer, which is how I would usually play as Link back in the day. And you just had default Link. But they gave you all the different options. So like I played arcade mode and I tried to get as far as I could. And I got to the final battle for Link's arcade mode against Raphael, and then the demo ended. I didn't get to finish. I was like, oh, man, but it was fun. So yeah, GameCube classics were pretty much what you would expect.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm looking forward. I played Soul Calibur. Actually, pretty much when we started the podcast, actually, like I was playing it during COVID. I went on a GameCube buying spree and played a lot as Link there. Anything for any of the other games that you want to talk about, like Civilization or anything else before the last one?
Yeah, so what else did I play? So yeah, Prime 4, Soul Calibur, Drag X Drift. I played Super Mario Jamboree. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Sorry, I keep saying Super Mario. Super Mario Party Jamboree, whatever it's called. I don't know. So they only had like MouseCon mini games. You got to play like a few of them out of like a selection of 6. So like there was one that was kind of like a what's that old game where you like do surgery on a body and you can't touch the sides of
Operation.
So there was like an Operation type game. It wasn't Operation, but like you grabbed something. It was kind of like one of the old like DS mini games. You have to like drag something through like a path and not touch the sides. That was fun. There was an air hockey one where you literally are just playing air hockey, but they keep adding tons of pucks towards the end. There were a couple of ones. I forget what you had to do, but Super Mario Party Jamboree, whatever it is, keeps tripping me up. I thought that was
Party.
yeah, the new Mario Party game. The Joy-Cons like definitely opened up a bunch of new cool ways to like create mini games, and I thought they were all fun. So that was a really good play there. Then I played Civ 6, which, like I said, like I love that you had the ability to use the mouse in terms of the mouse moving, the left analog stick and the right analog stick all at the same time. Like that to me was actually kind of like probably the biggest surprise, because now you were able to like look around with the camera on the right stick, zoom in and out with the left stick, and be clicking on stuff at the same time. Like that was actually like super, super cool. That was like just a utility I never really thought of. I think it's kind of going underappreciated right now with it, as any other games that would take advantage of the fact that you can use all 3 of those things to move, manipulate, and whatever the camera. Otherwise, like it was Civ 6, really cool, obviously a great game. And I kind of just played around with it for a little bit. And then I played Street Fighter 6 only because my time for Donkey Kong Bonanza was about to come up and I wanted to fill my passport, and I hadn't yet. Because, like I said, drag, drive, drift, that didn't take up your passport time. So, like, that didn't get me down. And I wasn't like, oh, if I don't get all 6, like, do I not get the thing at the end? Or, like, I don't know. I wanted to make sure my passport was filled out. So I went to Street Fighter 6. I played literally a best of 3 against someone. And that was horrible. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't mouse cons or Joy-Cons. It was gyro controls. So, like, you like went like this, like, and shook it to attack people and, like, mashed on it to it was nonsense. I lost. I didn't know what I was doing. It was weird. Gyro controls for Street Fighter. I don't know what they're doing with that.
That sounds awful.
It was It was like, do you want to have 0 control over your character in a fighting game and just waggle your hands around and hope that you win? And that's the experience for you, because that's what I had. And then I had to get online for the last game, Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Well, let's talk about Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think that you and I, Dak, I don't know. You'll have to forgive me, Doom. I can't remember where you fell on the new design, if you liked it or not. But I do know.
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
For the most part.
I had a lot of people just telling me, like, just go with it. Like, it's a new generation. It's about the movies. It's the original look, and I was trying to be with it, and I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm sorry. I like what I like, and I don't like this design. It's not for me, but certainly not a game ruiner.
Yeah, there's some shots I think where like the look and design he has on the box art, like that looks killer. I love that look. There's like certain facial expressions where I'm like, it really works for me, but like I'd say like 70-80% of the time I'm just like, yeah, it feels off. And I'm sure in large part it's just because I'm so used to that Kevin Bayliss design. Hell, even Kevin Bayliss, he's been talking about on Blue Sky and social media and whatnot. He loves the new design, so he's all for it even. But yeah, it's just what I'm used to, and it looks off.
Indeed.
I will say that I mostly agree with that. I don't really love the new design. I think the worst part about it actually is his fur looks like feathers.
Yes.
I don't know how they look at that and say it looks like fur or hair. It looks like feathers. He looks like he's a bird. I don't mind. I think some of his depiction in the game is like almost like Flanderized, you know? Like he's like so goofy and so cartoony, and making all these weird gestures, and I'm like, like I liked it when DK was like he was a little goofy, but he was also kind of like cool, but also
cool.
like goofy in like an aloof type of way, or and not like making all these crazy faces and whatnot, and like stretching his body out. And like it was, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. It's a kid's game, like whatever.
Mm-hmm. So to me, this looked like a Mario game that has Donkey Kong.
It's Super Mario Odyssey with DK, and I did not like it. I will say that this was probably the most disappointing part of the experience, because I have been looking forward to a new 3D DK for a very long time, and I played it, and I was like, this game is ass. It is not good. I do not like it.
Oh boy.
So yes, it's not. I don't know. I've read an article like, it's very an exploration-based platformer. Okay. So like the game pretty much drops you into areas where, like in Odyssey, like it's not like a big world. You like there's a little bit of exploration, but you pretty much know which direction you're going at all times. It looks like an Odyssey game. Like the enemies, the coloring of the game, the environments look like you're playing a Super Mario Odyssey game, which I don't like how it looks at all. I couldn't really hear the music, so I can't really say anything about that. But the gameplay is very so. DK64 is one of my favorite games of all time, and that's the only other 3D DK platformer really that there is. And what I like about that game is that it feels very exploratory. The world feels huge, and there's like precise platforming to it. You got to make these vine jumps. You got to not fall when you're climbing and scaling this thing. And there isn't any of that platforming in this game. It's very much a mash at all times into anything with no thought at all or precision, and it gets really old. Instead of going from like, oh, you got to go and collect all these different things in the game and go to the far reaches of each world to collect every little bit. Now it's every little thing you do spawns a collectible, and you are constantly picking them up at all times to where it becomes essentially meaningless. It also does that thing where like you pick up a banana and it like shows text on the thing, and it like does like names the mission you did or whatever, which is again a Mario thing. And it's just mashy. You're just running around and mashing. Like, yeah, it's cool to like manipulate and like destroy the environment, but it's not cool for very long. There's really no platforming at all. At least from what I played, there's essentially no platforming. The combat's, I mean, something throws something at you, you pick it up, you throw it back, or you pick up the ground, you throw it at it, or that's it. I was very disappointed with DK Bonanza. I didn't say that to the guy. I was positive, because it's not his fault that the game is ass. Who was showing me the game. But yeah, it's like you start off in this area, you kind of get the idea of how to mash through the world and go break through stuff, and it puts you through a little bit of Ingot Island, which is not DK Island, by the way. The game specifies that it's another island nearby. And then you break through like a layer or something, and like the game I think is broken into layers. Like you're going through layers of the world deeper and deeper. It's like a reverse Samus Returns. So like the first area is like the lagoon layer, and then I'm sure you'll go to another like the ice layer, blah blah blah. I don't think I talked to Cranky, but also it's funny anytime you try to punch an NPC, you high five them. That was goofy, because I was trying to beat up the NPCs. But yeah, you're pretty much just running around mashing on stuff. There was a part where I actually mashed and like broke through like the wall or like ground or ceiling, and I completely lost where I was. Like I had no idea if I was below anything, above anything. It took me like a couple minutes to like actually get back to the area of the game it wanted me in. Yeah, overall, I am sad to say that I probably won't be picking that game up. And I'll probably just go back and play the original DK64, because I unfortunately really not a fan of it.
Yeah, it's really
That's too
important because
bad.
I've heard a lot of I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. I've seen some people who previewed the game who absolutely loved it, and then I've also heard other people who had a similar experience to you, where it's like, the kind of Wario World style mashy
Yes, it's
combat
very
isn't
similar to
really,
Wario World.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
like that game, and it's like if you like Super Mario Odyssey, but the ability to mash even more, you'll probably love this game, because that's what it is. And I really did not like Super Mario Odyssey, and I certainly didn't want a new DK game to be an Mario Odyssey game. So the fact that I not only did not really enjoy the latest 3D Mario game, but also now I'm not going to enjoy this one because of that one, really bums me out. If you like Super Mario Odyssey, you'll probably like this game. If you like mindless mashing on stuff or like Dynasty Warriors games, you'll probably love this game. But if you liked
Ooh.
older Donkey Kong games, even like the new retro DKC games, so like the old Rareware games, if you like DK64, I don't think you would be a fan of the game.
See, I do like I like pretty much all the 3D Mario's, but I'm definitely not a Dynasty Warriors kind of person. So
I mean, that's
I don't know.
it's not really Dynasty Warriors. It's just like it's so
It's not-
mashy.
yeah,
And mindless
It's not like you have-
mashiness.
it's not like you have hundreds of enemies descending upon you. It's kind of game like Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, it was just like I said. If you and like the Odyssey, if they like come out and say, "Oh yeah, the 3D Mario team behind Odyssey made this," I'd be like, "No, duh." Like, it's
Yeah.
the whole like environmental creative design language is so Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, DK looks like a Super Mario Odyssey character if he was in that game. Yeah, it was very disappointing. It's weird because like Metroid Prime 4 and 3D DK are like two games that I've been waiting for years now. And I get Metroid Prime 4, I'm like, yes, this is a Metroid Prime 4 game. Great, awesome, can't wait. And then I get the new 3D DK game, like this is not a 3D DK game to me. This is not a DK platformer that I would enjoy, and so unfortunately, for that reason, I'm out. And yeah, I'm certainly not paying $80, $90, whatever it costs. That's for sure.
I think this one
wonder-
is $70, but even still, like I
I'm
need
good
to
on
see.
that.
I need to see. Yeah, I need to see more footage at the inevitable June direct of this game first. But like, I feel like I still want to at least pick this game up and try it out, unless it gets just absolutely atrocious reviews when it comes out. You know.
Yeah, I think I'm still gonna pick it up. I was like I was kind of with you. Like I was a little bit disappointed because when I think of Donkey Kong, I think of like the Kong family and the Animal Buddies and the jungle and Kremlings and you know what I mean. Like and
Yeah.
it didn't really look like there was any of that here. And to be honest with you, that wasn't necessarily the case in even like Tropical Freeze. Like that setting was very different as well. But yeah, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
this looked to me like a Mario game with Donkey Kong in it, and pretty
It
much
is.
that's what I've seen like all the previews more or less say. I loved Mario Odyssey, so like I'm still hoping that this is going to be a game for me. Two things I was going to ask you. Like I mean, number one, let's say that this was a new IP, not a Donkey Kong game. Do you think that you like it anymore, or is it just like not great no matter what?
I think I probably would be a bit more palatable to it, but I wouldn't be like being super hyped about it either.
Yeah.
You know, like it'd be like, yeah, this is a cool game, but it's not something like I'd really need. As a DK game specifically, it's very much a letdown. If it was its own thing, it'd probably be a little better, but I certainly still wouldn't be like, oh, must have, must get. Because again, like it doesn't scratch that like precise. It does. I mean, it's a platformer without any real kind of platforming. Like DK scales the walls very easily. There were no like gaps to, avoid and jump over. Like it's pretty much like it's very much like a platformer in terms of holding forward and the A button at times. And if you like that kind of game, you'll probably enjoy it.
My second question, which is kind of unrelated actually, but like when you were playing the demo, there's this little purple rock gimmick that is like your companion in this game. Did you have that little purple guy? It's featured in all like the key art and the stuff like that. There's actually like a big time spoiler going around about this purple rock. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I have
or
seen it,
care
yeah.
about it.
Yeah. So, I don't remember if there was a purple character on my. He did have pants. I will remember that. I will say that I don't remember the purple rock being part of the demo, perhaps. But I will say I was kind of turned out to like details once I started getting into the crux of the game. I don't. I say I don't remember if the purple gimmick was on his shoulder, but he had pants on. I do remember that.
Yeah, not a fan of the pants. If I'm being honest,
I
like
will
my
say,
DK pantsless.
I kind of mess with the pants. I thought the pants look like, I think it's like DK wearing different costumes and outfits. That's a funny gimmick. Like that, I think I'm okay with, because DK to me does feel like that kind of character. Like, hey, he'll wear this, he'll wear that. Like he's game. You know, he's down for whatever. But like the scene where like he sees a golden banana and he like, his eyes become hearts and he's like, oh, golden banana. I'm like, what are we doing here, man?
That was tough. That was tough.
What are we doing here, man? Yeah,
do you
like,
care if I
like the
spoil
pants.
this little spoiler?
No, I
Okay.
already. That's up to whether or not you think the listeners will care. I've already seen it.
So I'm gonna say I like skip ahead like 2 minutes if you haven't seen this or whatever, because I'm gonna spoil something for the game here. I think it's I think it's pretty clear maybe that purple rock is, if not Pauline, like related to Pauline somehow, like maybe she got turned into a rock or something like that. I don't know, but interesting. Like it very much is definitely like going back to the roots of like Wrecking Ball Donkey Kong, or like, you know, 25mm Donkey Kong or whatever, rather than like the Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong. So I just wonder now if it's just like almost like how Zelda does it, where there's like the Toon Link series and then there's like the 3D series, you know what I mean? Like if Donkey Kong Country is now just its own thing, and like Donkey Kong 3D is going to be more tied to like that original, you know, appearance of Donkey Kong as like Mario's rival, rather than like the cool Donkey Kong that we know and love.
Sorry, Doom, go ahead, because I feel like I've been yapping.
I was just saying, well, we do see that brief 2D section of the trailer that definitely evokes like the classic Donkey Kong Country. You got the barrel cannons, you got the forest in the background. It's hard to, I doubt that's going to be like a majority of the game. That's probably going to be similar to like the 2D sections in Odyssey, if anything. But and obviously, you know, you still got Cranky in the game. There's some weird iconography that's been popping up. Like there's the I can't remember the name of the beaver, but like someone spotted like the beaver that appears in like the classic DK games. And there's like some of the iconography, like people have been pointing out, looks kind of similar to like what is it, the cape that
Yeah, King
that,
K.
K.
Rool
Rool
has
wears.
like, he has the girder like detail on his cape, which, yeah, so like there are certainly hints that like they're like the K. Rools and the Kremlings might appear later, which is cool. Like I didn't get to experience that, unfortunately. If that's the case, like, you know, unfortunately, I'm not sure if I'm going to play the game to really find out. And honestly, you know, not for nothing, like it's a DK game. I don't really care about like the lore and overarching story of the Donkey Kong franchise. I think more to my liking is like getting to just more like you said, and like the Kong family and like the familiar characters, and like there's
the characters and the iconography, you know.
Yeah, and like there's Cranky Kong, there's Banker Kong, there's, you know, Mechanic Kong, you know, like that's funny to me, like that's cool. And like as a DK64
New funky mode.
Yeah, like
you
funky, like, you know, like Crisis Kong. I don't know, like do that silly stuff. Like the new enemies that are in the game, just like these are Super Mario Odyssey bosses. Like those rabbits they put in, those dumb rabbits they put in the game. Like this is just that. Like it's just this cliche like group of bad guys or whatever. I'm like, where are like I don't know. Bring back the Kremlings, bring back K. Rool. I hope they come back. But I do miss like Lanky. I miss, you know, Chunky. I miss Tiny Kong. I wish they were back. Yeah. I will still hold to see like, okay, maybe they'll have a fun surprise down the road later in the game and they're not leading off with it, but I wish it had more of that familiar DK-ness to me.
I think that's fair.
Some of the character designs did kind of remind me of like classic Rare designs, just because of like, specifically in the first part of the trailer before they like really revealed that it was a DK game. There were like these rock-like NPCs or enemies, I'm not sure, and they were like really had a huge emphasis on the eyes, and that really especially reminded me of like some of the stuff you'd see on like Banjo-Kazooie, for example.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if that was coincidental or if they were like trying to go for that kind of look in there, but I don't know. Stuck out to me.
I don't know if I saw that. This, like, the only thing I can think of to say, and I've already said it, but like this doesn't look like a Donkey Kong game. It looks like a game that Donkey Kong's in, which
It
might
does.
end up being fine. But like, it is a little bit disappointing. I think for me.
So at least on my end, like I haven't, like that's how I feel about it. Obviously, I'm on the show to talk about that stuff. I haven't been posting too much about it online because I don't want to like, rain on people's parade. It's a video game. It is what it is. I'd rather talk about the stuff I do like than the stuff I don't. But I just wish that was part of the things that I did like. Because I wanted to love this. I wanted to love this game so much. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like it's a little fun, but it's not the DK game, not the DK experience I was hoping for. But hopefully, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a second chance.
I think there's still time for like a new trailer for something to turn it around. Maybe we're definitely seeing like only some of what this game has to offer for sure. And I don't know, maybe as silly as it sounds, like maybe there's a cool story trailer that's coming that will get our juices flowing here. Okay, any final thoughts about the Switch New York experience before we jam on out of here?
Well, I'm glad I got that backpack. Really cool. I think overall it ran really well. It was really cool to be able to try a lot more than I was expecting. They showed off a lot of cool third-party games that like people were interested in seeing. Mario Kart killed it. Obviously, be able to play Metroid Prime 4 early was super cool, and I can't wait to play more of that. Yeah, I would say that overall it was a lot of fun. It ran really smoothly. It was an awesome experience. I'm not going to forget. It was like, wow, I got to play this, new console, holding my hands early. Obviously, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's coming out in a few months, as far as I know. But it was a lot of fun. It ran really well, and there were a lot of people having fun there too. So that was really cool.
Nice. Well, I think that's the end of the road here. I think that's gonna cap it off. So, Dak, thank you for sharing your experience with us, and I'm super pumped that you got to go and get some, hands-on impressions of Switch 2 and Metroid Prime 4 and all that kind of fun stuff. And now we just wait to see when the game is officially going to be releasing, so that we can finally get our hands on this bad boy. So very very excited for that, and I'm sure that yes, we have a direct coming up here probably pretty quickly in June to really give us some more information about that. So lots of good stuff to look forward to. Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here on anything?
Mario Kart World Game of the Year potentially.
Wow, maybe in another year. I'll tell you that. We'll see. We'll see. It does look incredible. I'm really excited to play Mario Kart. And hopefully everything shakes out in terms of getting those Switch 2 pre-orders. We will see. But that is, of course, going to do it for us, my friends. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And again, thank you, Dak, for telling us your experiences. Very, very cool to hear. We are going to get out of here. Of course, we do want to encourage everybody to check us out wherever you get your podcast. Go like, subscribe, recommend, rate, review, all that kind of good stuff. If you got a Metroid fan in your life, tell them where they can get their weekly Metroid fix. We are doing this every single week, new episodes every single Wednesday. Indeed, if you even want more episodes, we have a Patreon episode, or a Patreon rather, where you can get bonus monthly episodes every single month. Patreon.com/SPNet. I don't know, maybe we'll let Doom record a Mario Kart World episode and record it there, release it there. That'd be fun.
That'd be a fun Patreon episode. I'd be down for that.
I think that could be fun. And of course, OmegaMetroid.com. If you're a fan of Metroid, lots of stuff there for you. Guides, news, maps, whatever. It's all there. So go check that out. And give us a follow over on Blue Sky. I am at Spateri316. Doom is at Doom-Lacrosse. Dak is at Dak City. And we are at Omega Metroid. That, my friends, is going to do it for us. So until next week when we're breaking down that Metroid Prime 4 footage, everybody take care.